Recently picked up a couple of these InstaCrates from Costco, and they're only about $9 a piece, so I figured it was worth a shot. They're these kind of fold-up storage crates, and so you can store them flat, and then when you need them, you pop them out, and they become a pretty decent-sized little plastic crate. Now, the website for these says that they will hold 50 pounds, and after using a little bit, I'm a little bit skeptical based on their construction, so I figured I'd do a little bit of testing to see, will they really hold up to 50 pounds of load? So, with a little assistance from my dog, who is always down to monitor things that are happening, I grabbed some plates, and so I've got a couple of 10-pound plates. I've also got some dumbbells that I'm going to use and just kind of slowly load these things up and see, at what point they're going to fail. So let's start off with 20 pounds. And we'll give it a quick lift, give it a little bit of a shake just to make sure, because, if you're ever going up and down stairs or, you trip a little bit and you jiggle, you want to make sure that that thing will hold up. And yeah, 20 pounds doesn't look like too big of a problem. So let's move up a little bit. I've got a 10-pound dumbbell that I'm going to place in there. So we're up to 30 pounds now, and let's give it another test. Holds okay, but as you see, with a little bit of shaking, it does come apart. And so, will it hold 50 pounds? Maybe, but you do have to be careful that load rating is very static and any dynamic movement. This thing does tend to come apart. Okay, so now let's do more of a straightforward 50-pound load test. Put in a couple of 10-pound plates, put in a 20-pound dumbbell, and a 10-pound dumbbell, so this is just going to be 50 pounds. So here we go with a more straightforward lift and just a little shake instead of a big drop. And it does hold, but I will say, as soon as I picked it up, I could feel one side kind of lift out of its clip. So, that happened every time. You can kind of see there on that top end on my right, it is kind of pulling out every time I lift up, and so that didn't give me a ton of confidence in this thing. So it did hold up with a little bit of shaking, but I really don't feel like if you've got this thing loaded down, it's going to do very well. I will also point out that if you don't have this thing fully locked out, it will just completely fail, and it's actually fairly easy not to have it completely assembled. And I mean, it doesn't just not work, it completely comes apart. So if you do use these, always make sure that they are fully locked out before you pick them up. Or again, they will just completely come apart on you. So one of the reasons these things come apart so easily is that there's nothing to hold them together except for tiny little plastic tabs. And there's not really good engagement between these tabs and the eyelets that they lock into. So even though, yeah, it will hold up any kind of dynamic shock at all, these things just seem to come apart. So I wouldn't count on them for any substantial load. So if you're loading them up with like canned goods, jars, things like that get pretty heavy pretty quick, like you're loading groceries, and then you go to jerk that thing up, it is liable to come apart on you, and you don't want to, leave, ragu all over the driveway or something. So I would be a little careful with them. So they do work, and they are awful handy, and they certainly are cheap, but I wouldn't exactly give them a glowing endorsement on that 50-pound rating. You probably want to keep it well below that if you're actually going to use them. So I'll leave it there. They are a interesting concept, and I probably will use them for groceries and stuff, but do be careful if you load these things up. That's all I've got to say about it, and so if you've got any feedback, as always, feel free to leave a comment down below.